Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Weapons of the Vietnam War. This article is about the weapons used in the Vietnam War, which involved the People's Army of Vietnam and North Vietnamese Army, National Liberation Front. For South Vietnam are Viet Cong, and the armed forces of the Army of the Republic of Vietnam. United States, Republic of Korea, Philippines, Thailand, and the Australian, New Zealand Defence Forces, and a variety of irregular troops. Nearly all United States Allied forces were armed with U.S. weapons including the M1 Garand, M14, and M16. The Australian Army employed the 7.62 mm L1A1 Self-Loading Rifle as their service rifle, with the occasional US M16. The NVA, although having inherited a variety of American, French, and Japanese weapons from World War II and the First Indochina War, were largely armed and supplied by the People's Republic of China, the Soviet Union, and its Warsaw Pact allies. In addition, some weapons, notably anti-personnel explosives, the K-50M, and homemade versions of the RPG-2, were manufactured in Vietnam. By 1969, the U.S. Army had identified 40 rifle, carbine types, 22 machine gun types, 17 types of mortar, 20 recoilless rifle or rocket launcher types, 9 types of anti-tank weapons, and 14 anti-aircraft artillery weapons used by ground troops on all sides. Also in use, primarily by anti-communist forces, were the 24 types of armored vehicles and self-propelled artillery, and 26 types of field artillery and rocket launches. Communist forces and weapons. Communist forces were principally armed with Chinese and Soviet weaponry, though some Viet Cong guerrilla units were equipped with Western infantry weapons either captured from French stocks during the First Indochina War, such as the MAT-49, or from ARVN units or requisitioned through illicit purchase. U.S. weapons. The American M16 rifle, which replaced the M14, was lighter and considered more accurate than the AK-47, but was prone to jamming. Often the gun suffered from a jamming flaw known as failure to extract, which meant that a spent cartridge case remained lodged in the chamber after a bullet flew out the muzzle. According to a congressional report, the jamming was caused primarily by a change in gunpowder, which was done without adequate testing and reflected a decision for which the safety of soldiers was a secondary consideration. The heavily armored 90mm gun M48A3 pattern tanks saw extensive action during the Vietnam War, and over 600 were deployed with U.S. forces. They played an important role in infantry support, though there were few tank versus tank battles. The M67A1 flamethrower tank was an M48 variant used in Vietnam. Artillery was used extensively by both sides, but the Americans were able to ferry the lightweight 105mm M102 howitzer by helicopter to remote locations on quick notice. With its range, the Soviet 130mm M46 towed field gun was a highly regarded weapon and used to good effect by the NVA. It was countered by the long-range American 175mm M107 self-propelled gun. The United States had air superiority, though many aircraft were lost to surface-to-air missiles and anti-aircraft artillery. U.S. air power was credited with breaking the siege of Khe Sanh and blunting the 1972 Easter offensive against South Vietnam. At sea, the U.S. Navy had the run of the coastline, using aircraft carriers as platforms for offshore strikes. and other naval vessels for offshore artillery support. Offshore naval fire played a pivotal role in the battle for the city of Hue, providing accurate fire in support of the U.S. counter-offensive to retake the city. The Vietnam War was the first conflict that saw wide-scale tactical deployment of helicopters. The Bell-UH-1 Iroquois, nicknamed Huey, was used extensively in counter-guerrilla operations both as a troop carrier and a gunship. In the latter role it was outfitted with a variety of armaments including M16 machine guns, multi-barreled 7.62 mm miniguns, and unguided air-to-surface rockets. The Hueys were also successfully used in MEDEVAC and search and rescue roles. Shotguns. The shotguns were used as an individual weapon during jungle patrol. Infantry units were authorized a shotgun by 2 and shotguns were not general issue to all infantrymen, but were select issue, such as 1 per squad, etc. Stevens Model 520-30 and Model 620. Grenade launchers. M79 grenade launcher, primary U.S. grenade launcher of the Vietnam War, it was used by all branches of the U.S. military. The China Lake grenade launcher, pump-action weapon, also saw action in the Vietnam War, albeit in very small numbers. M148 experimental under-barreled 40mm grenade launcher, used by Navy SEALs and Australian SHASH, withdrawn due to safety reasons. M203 grenade launcher, single-shot 40mm underslung grenade launcher designed to attach to a M16 rifle. First tested in combat April 1969. M7 grenade launcher, rifle grenade launcher used with the M1 Garand, used by the South Vietnamese soldiers. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.